Welcome to Engaging Differences, a program that reminds us how we can work together to address the challenges of our day. In today's society, we're connected by social media and technology, and yet we feel more disconnected than ever. Our politics are polarized, the media is partisan, families are divided, and friendships are strained. Here's what some of our fellow Americans from all backgrounds and political persuasions have to say about the problem, but more importantly, what we can do about it.
I think there are many who feel that we're in decline as a nation and as a democracy. And it's due to our inability to constructively communicate with each other on the issues that are facing us.
Growing up in a Black community, growing up in a low income community, everything can be so one-sided and narrow that when you grow and you learn and you become more and you make acquaintances with different people from different political views, it allows you to see more things that you wasn't exposed to in the beginning.
I think the most important thing that we can do as Americans, for our country, for our world, is engage differences constructively. Yes, we have huge issues we need to figure out, but ultimately the heart of all of it and the foundation of all of it is learning how to live, work, and play with people that may not think like you. One of the greatest reasons why our country is amazing is we are a melting pot.
I knew someone who knew about my religion and they just assumed that I felt a certain way about their identity because of my religion. And so they kind of came at me like attacking me, and that was really a frustrating experience for me. I felt like no matter what I said, I couldn't win. So then I found myself trying to point out to them how hypocritical they were being. And it really, as soon as that happened, there was no chance for productive conversation.
Sometimes I find it healthy not just to go to the people who reinforce my ideas, but people who might really take something and think carefully about it and maybe even challenge me on it. I have a office neighbor right through this wall. He and I think differently, and he likes to challenge my Pollyanna assumptions, and is good at it, and makes me think carefully about what I'm saying, how I'm reading, what I'm thinking about this idea or this text or this author or this thought.
Where I'm at, I'm a commander of a medevac unit. I'm a captain in the Idaho Army National Guard. And I found that, especially in my position, there is no way at all that I could be successful in executing my job, especially in the combat environment, if I wasn't able to, or even willing to listen to any of my guys. It's incumbent upon us as commissioned officers to, talk to everybody in our unit. They have something important to contribute, and all you have to do is ask and listen. And if they disagree, we'll listen even harder, because there's probably a good reason why they disagree.
One time I tried to reason with somebody who had a different point of view, and we just both weren't really listening to each other, so that didn't really work out because we both came into the conversation with what we wanted it to end up as, and in two different ways. So we weren't going to convince each other because, they weren't listening to me, I wasn't listening to them. It was like we were both talking to walls, so.
Being the only African American woman in the room and in the spaces that I normally interact in, and having to connect with individuals who don't understand what it's like to be a minority, nor what it's like to grow up in a low income community. I've always had to share personal stories about myself to allow others to understand where I come from and why these issues are so important to not only me but to other Black communities and other minority or underrepresented communities.
I think you have to come from like a place of humility. You can't come into a conversation thinking that you have the best opinion and it's morally correct and that everybody else is like morally wrong if they don't agree with you, and you've got to respect the other person. You like have to see them as like a real human being. They're not just like something to be argued with. And I think that mindset going into these types of conversations is really what sets the stage for any productive conversation to happen.
It's important to know like it's okay to be wrong sometimes. Like you don't always have to be right, and I think it's okay to have the approach of okay, like I was wrong, like I was uneducated on this, and not trying to have too much of an ego where you can't even change your opinion.
One thing that I have to remind myself is I need to check my tone. I mean, if you have a holier than thou tone, of course you're not going to have someone really engage with you.
And that maybe our ability to not just give solutions or to pass judgments would be enhanced if we could ask better questions.
I want to help you, or I want to understand where you're coming from, rather than I want to be right.
When I listen well, sometimes it even makes the other person listen better.
To be able to speak, without being spoken over. Listening also, you need active listening. I mean, body language is critical when you're talking.
We need to learn to understand each other, where each person is coming from. If that means walking a mile in someone else's shoes, then we need to do that, to understand what those people are going through instead of just assuming that we understand.
To just shut off that storyline in your own head, and just listen.
Acknowledging that our differences are what unites us. People let that divide us, but it's really kind of what makes us American.